In the 1970s, pediatrician Herbert Needleman and his colleagues gathered and examined the shed baby teeth of schoolchildren throughout Boston and Philadelphia, offering small incentives in return. Their so-called Tooth Fairy project revealed an unsettling truth. A large number of children had been exposed to lead. Lead is a naturally occurring metallic element found throughout Earth's crust. Once it enters the human body, it can interfere with a wide range of vital processes across multiple systems, leading to a broad spectrum of symptoms. This happens because the body mistakenly treats lead as if it were similarly charged metals like calcium, iron, and zinc, incorporating it into essential biological reactions and causing widespread damage. For instance, lead can interfere with the production of hemoglobin, the crucial protein in red blood cells responsible for transporting oxygen. It can also compete with iron during absorption in the intestines. Both effects can result in anemia and persistent fatigue. Lead is also capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, where it damages neurons and disrupts neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. This can trigger cognitive and behavioral changes, including hyperactivity and aggression. Additionally, lead exposure has been linked to high blood pressure, headaches, complications during pregnancy, and pain in the abdomen, joints, and muscles. Because lead can mimic calcium, it may accumulate in bones and teeth, only to be released back into the bloodstream later in life. Children are especially vulnerable due to their smaller size and ongoing development. Exposure can lead to developmental delays, learning difficulties, and behavioral problems. At very high levels, it can even cause seizures, coma, or death. In fact, no amount of lead exposure is considered safe, regardless of how minimal it may seem. Lead has long been recognized as a serious health threat. As early as around 20 BCE, the Roman architect Vitruvius observed the pale appearance and poor health of workers exposed to lead. Similarly, an Italian physician in the 18th century connected the weakness and abdominal pain of potters to lead exposure. Despite this long-standing awareness, lead became widely used during the 19th and 20th centuries. Its softness made it ideal for shaping into pipes, coins, and cookware, while its opacity made it useful as a pigment in paints and cosmetics. These advantages made it highly attractive, especially to those willing to ignore or conceal its toxicity. By the early 20th century, numerous reports had already documented brain damage, convulsions, and deaths in children who had inhaled or ingested lead, often from paint. In 1921, the League of Nations introduced restrictions on lead-based paint, which many countries adopted. However, the United States did not join the League, and the American lead industry continued to market its products as safe while pushing for the use of leaded gasoline. During the 1960s, activist groups such as the Young Lords and the Black Panthers raised public awareness about lead poisoning. In response, the lead industry attempted to shift blame onto low-income families, arguing that parents failed to stop children from engaging in normal behaviors like crawling and putting their hands in their mouths. Meanwhile, scientific evidence continued to grow. When Needleman's team analyzed the lead content in the collected baby teeth, they found that children with higher levels performed worse on cognitive and behavioral tests. These findings were met with resistance as the lead industry worked to discredit and obscure the results. Over time, the United States began implementing regulations, banning lead-based paint in the 1970s, restricting lead pipes in the 1980s, and phasing out leaded gasoline for on-road vehicles in the 1990s. However, these measures could not reverse the extensive damage caused by decades of widespread lead use, and removing existing lead remains a complex, risky, and expensive process. As of 2024, lead-based paint still exists on walls, and contamination persists in soil and water around the world. In the United States alone, tens of millions of people continue to rely on water delivered through lead-containing pipes. The lead industry generated enormous profits while employing denial and misinformation tactics similar to those used by the oil and tobacco industries, at times even working with the same consulting firms. Still, there have been some efforts toward accountability. In 2019, manufacturers in California were ordered to fund over $300 million in lead paint removal, offering a small but meaningful sign of justice in a history marked by industrial negligence and greed.